This computer.
So now we can't talk about Casper.
Behind
Oh,
his back. Oh,
there
we
he
can't.
comes.
There he is.
There he comes.
Hola.
Hey, Casper.
Hola, how are you?
Good.
The Bishop of California.
Hola. How are you? I don't know how to do it.
Hello, amigo.
Can you see me?
Yeah, no, but we can hear you.
Oh. She's telling me to turn my camera on. Huh. I
Yeah,
wonder
that
how
was,
that works. What do you do?
Click on that. Wait, and then.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Is this the video? Is
There
it
you
on?
boy.
Yes.
There he is.
Hola.
There's that good look.
So what's going on? What's this meeting? Who's in it?
Your professor.
Is she here?
Yes.
She's right there.
I don't
She's
see
good.
her.
Well,
There,
because
trust
Oh,
me.
there you are.
driving.
How are you? Excuse me, I'll be driving.
I'm good. The real question is, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'll be driving, so it'll be interesting.
Just be careful.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So first, let's just start off. And guys, ask any just administration class type questions, and then we can dive deep into the CBT theoretical model more.
So I'll go ahead and jump in. So when I did my reflection paper, and it actually really helped for me to do that reflection paper because I was talking to Jocelyn earlier. It was a natural flow, and kind of like what I was talking to you, Dr. Plant, that it's a natural flow because it's something that we've been taught a lot about the mind and the battlefield and just all of that behavior. And so now as I'm going into the conceptualization paper, plugging it into somewhat that worksheet. I mean, because
Yeah.
I like the narrative form a lot better. It helps, it guides me better. So I heard what you were saying yesterday, well, when I listened to the video, as far as those questions. And so as long as we kind of look at that first part and then go through those questions and how Helen fits into those, I think that's what you're looking for. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's the same as doing the person-centered
Okay.
and systems. And what you'll see is a lot of the concepts will overlap.
Okay.
And the main goal of these assignments is just to get you familiar with some of these concepts. Because if we take a step back, this is the beginning of your program. And so every class will build on each other. Then when you do practicum, you have your supervisor. And so your practicum is you're still in your master's program. And then your supervisor is walking alongside these concepts. They should pull a theory, help you plug them in. And then you have your associateship, and that's 3 to 4 years under supervisor. Then you get tested, the state licensure. So I know it's a lot and it may seem overwhelming, but you will have time to figure this out before you get tested for your state licensure and even before you start seeing clients. So the goal is just to introduce you. I want you to try on the theory. And honestly, there is not the only way that you will get the assignment wrong is if you just make something up. For example, you'll say, Helen's cognitive distortion is that she thinks she is overweight because she eats too much chocolate. That's not in the vignette at all, right? But so as long as you're just pulling something out, so just try it. Somebody give me an example of a possible cognitive distortion of Helen.
I haven't looked.
Well, from what you know of Helen, we've been working with her for 6 weeks. So just make something about Helen that you think she might a distortion. She might be thinking.
So I would think like so magnification and minimization. So for me, I would think that Helen, has that magnification of how her fear that she has to be the provider for the family.
Yeah, I have to provide. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to provide for the family because my older brother can't do it. he's got issues, so she's made that a big part of what's going on with that anxiety and that depression.
Yep. So as long as you attach it to something in the vignette
Mhm.
and then you can tie it, then that's fine. I just wanted to get you guys practicing
Perfect.
the theory. Yeah.
Johnny,
have a-
Johnny has a question.
Oh, is that mean hand
Oh,
raised?
that's the hand.
Oh,
Yes. Is it Jonathan or Johnny?
I don't think so.
John, everyone calls me Johnny.
Okay.
I just had a question on something you said. So even after we go through like this program, when we go through the 3 years, we're still not gonna get licensed. So
So
we have to do another 3 years.
yeah, so what happens is, well, it depends. It depends on what is your goal. If your career goal is to become licensed, then how that works is you have your practicum, which I don't know how many hours LPU is requesting, maybe like 250 or 300,
250.
250 therapy hours while you're still in your master's program. Then after you graduate, you become an associate. Associate, you need 3,000 hours before you take your state licensing exam. That can take anywhere from 2, 3 to 6 years. Once you get past your 6 years, you start losing hours. And so the goal is to get 6, but it's very easy to do within 6 hours. It truly is. And then after you get your 3,000 hours, you take your state licensing exam. My point is though, you have constant supervision and oversight from here until you take your test from your clinical supervisor. So they will help you understand the concepts. You're going to be talking about all your cases with them in group supervision, individual supervision. So they're not going to release you to the wild to figure out on your own. That's why I know it's a lot of information, but you'll get it. It will click. We just kind of want to introduce you to the concepts.
So
Uh,
once
oh, go
once
ahead.
at the end of it, as an associate, we can't work as a therapist or no.
You can work as you can work
like
as a therapist. You're just not going to be licensed, meaning.
Okay, so just
Yeah, I think, yeah, he's asking the same question I had, which was, do we get paid and are we still doing the work?
Yeah.
Because
So-
doesn't license mean we can open up our own shop, but if we're associate, I mean, we work for a clinic like you guys or something.
Yes, as an associate, you will work for a nonprofit or you can be a for-profit. A traineeship, you have to be for a nonprofit, but as an associate, you will work under your supervisor's license. So you can work for a DMH, you for a hospital, private practice setting. There's different clinics and settings. Well, you will
Mhm.
practice therapy under your supervisor's license.
And that all goes towards
You're
our
out.
hours, and that
For
all
3,000.
goes towards our license, and and then there's actually paid things so we can live in a house.
But let me caveat. If this is California, a lot of this is similar state to state, but some states are different. And so you will have to check with your state licensing board and their specific requirements. But most of them, it is 3,000.
Oh, go Jossie.
I was wondering because I really like how you've uploaded the role plays for us to watch. Are we able, I mean, are there certain CBT role plays that you would be more interested in us watching? Is it kind of a free for all if we just search it on YouTube? But I feel like those really have been helpful to see them role played.
Yeah. So I did have a hard time finding videos that I liked. There were some videos that I was like, oh, I don't like
Mm.
that. And so I would be careful of who posted it.
That's what I'm wondering, yeah.
There is Gay Heart and the Therapist Developmental Center. That's a really good one. There is some, let me do some research to find. A lot of them you have to pay for subscriptions, but let me see if I can find some.
Okay.
You know what? And that leads to my question, because like, if there are, I think Med Circle offers stuff, but I don't know if they do like full sessions. but I'll totally pay for it and share, because watching, it's like, you know, you don't know how to play baseball unless you watch other baseball players. So it's like,
And we're having a theories 2 class, clinical skills, and that we're going to be doing a lot of role plays in, like, because instead of we're going to have live classes that are going to be built into the curriculum, and we're going to be doing a lot more practice and practice and practice with your professor there walking you through it.
do we have you for that too, do you think?
Have what?
Will we have you for that?
I don't know. It's not until 2025. I don't know if they maybe
Oh,
they
that's a
ask.
while. Yeah, that's a while.
We'll put in our request for you.
Yes. But get me Angie on the phone.
That's funny.
Yeah, we signed the petition.
On the CBT, you said you don't have to memorize it, but I've been really honing in on the basic ID, and I've been even watching outside stuff just so I get my arms around it. And then those 8, do I call them schemas or distorted, you know, like jumping to conclusions, over magnification? And then there was the triad where it was you know, negative view of the self, world, and future. So I was really just trying to really just get that in my brain as the foundation. And then I was going to do the conceptualization through that, right? Does that seem like kind of this? Because I want to start learning how to think within a framework.
Yeah. And to be honest, I'm not just saying this, your guys's case conceptualizations are really good. I can tell by how you're writing that you're understanding the concept. In the beginning, I gave a lot more comments. I'm only giving comments to the students that are really struggling to understand the concept. So I know this last one, I didn't give many comments because you're grasping it. So I would say do what you're doing now, because I can tell you're understanding how to think like a clinician and to talk like it. So just keep doing what you're doing for the CBT.
Yeah, I think the CBT is I'm getting the most hung up on, because everyone's like, that's the workhorse, that's the big one, that's the gold standard, you know?
So, yeah, but if we were to take a step back for a second, it's what's going to happen is you will hear over and over and over and over again that it is a therapeutic relationship that cultivates safety and is trust. And I don't know who, if you were here, Rick, when I said this earlier, but Emmaus Road has mainly trainees. We have like 17 trainees. We have a 96% satisfactory rate because you don't know anything else but person-centered in the foundational. You haven't really mastered these advanced skills. There's a reason for that. Is the advanced skills are going to come. And what's going to happen is you're going to start doing therapy and it's going to unfold. And if you stick to the foundational skills, such as attuning, building rapport, which is why I had to do that person-centered video twice, because I wanted you to really understand listening and validating it. Once you have that, and then you start getting the groove, then you can introduce a more advanced skill like cognitive restructuring or a thought record. But that's like in the treatment phase, not necessarily the engagement phase. It is going to come naturally, and then you're going to start doing it. But if you get kind of hung up on that now, I think you'll miss the foundational work, which is creating safety, attuning, validating. You can still treat a client and be successful without understanding cognitive restructuring or how to do a thought record.
Right. I think maybe if I could kind of rephrase it, me and you were talking earlier, Oscar, and so I was like, I just feel like I'll get nervous and I'll just keep reverting back to person-centered, keep reverting back to reflecting, which is not bad, right? It's obviously not bad at all. But if we're doing this assignment this week on cognitive,
I see what
I'm
you're
like,
saying.
oh, we gotta ask those questions, right? We gotta get that that assessment down. And so I think that's what I was
I see
meaning.
what you're saying.
Put it in that framework.
Does anybody else have the same question or same concern or have a different thought about the assignments?
Yeah, I don't know that. I think I might, like I was talking to Rick, I might get stuck on the thought, and then I think that once I get going with the thought, like if the therapist is asking and digging deeper and deeper, I just want to make sure that, because one, I mean, I don't want to be that hard client, because I want that therapist to be able to be successful. So I want to try to find an issue or a challenge that it doesn't have to go so deep. So how do we do that, I guess? Does that make sense?
Yeah, you were saying that it's gonna be harder to be the client.
Yeah.
You really have to kind of serve it up
Yep.
in a way. That was also the other thing we talked about.
Yeah.
Okay, do you think it'd be helpful to do a little mini role play where I'm the therapist and I kind of show what to do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was hoping you
That would
actually
be
seriously
nice.
hoping you would do that. Yeah.
So I think I think you should therapize Jocelyn, because she really needs help.
Interesting. I was gonna vote Oscar. Let's see how well Casper can drive while he's
Oh.
really going deep.
You will get in a car accident.
Hey, I was told hey, by the way, Kevin told me the other day, because I was getting in the car, he's like, I can't do it with you driving. I'm like, oh, I didn't know
Can't.
that.
You can't, yeah. Okay, who wants to volunteer to be a client?
Oscar.
Rick,
I'll do it.
Rick. Thank you, Myra.
you're
Myra,
Is
welcome.
that you, Myra?
Yeah,
It
Myra's
is.
in Zoom too.
Whatever, dude.
Okay, well, I'll do Oscar. I did Rick for, and I could not figure out, for some reason, Rick, I was really bummed that the audio is just like buzzing when I went to go play back our session, and then
Uh-huh.
it's just straight buzz. And so that's what we're hearing with us talking. That's why I didn't, I
Oh, I
know.
was wondering, I was
it was such
getting a
a
little
good-
vocal. I needed therapy for that.
I was like, that was such a good session to show this.
Yeah, yeah,
This buzz.
yeah.
I gotta figure out how to get the buzz off of my recording. Okay,
Okay.
so I'm going to, for this mock session, I'm going to do person-centered, and I'm going to apply some CBT interventions. Okay, all right,
Okay,
Oscar.
you're up, Oscar.
Great. Jocelyn, stop laughing. You're next.
You can make up an issue. It can be a
Okay.
baked issue.
Okay.
or you can do a real one, your fear of not getting 100% on something.
Oh my
Let's
God.
do that one. Let's do that
Okay.
one, Oscar.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Perfectionism, good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. So
Hey, hi, Dr. Plant. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, kind of struggling a little bit, I'm overthinking a lot of stuff this week, with my master's program.
Tell me about some of the things that you're overthinking.
Well, for instance, I am taking some tests, and then I'm writing some papers, and sometimes when I write I write a paper and I feel good about it, but then the more I think about it, the more I want to add. And then the more I want to add, the more I get more into, I feel like I'm getting into the weeds. And so just because I want it to be so right and so correct, not just grammatically, but even with an AP format, or even with the content. So it feels challenging for me to get judged on with a grade.
So what I'm hearing you say is there's a lot going on in your mind about doing these assignments correctly. And there's also this fear of you being judged.
Yeah, I think, like, for me, I've always, worked on excellence, and excellence has been something that I strive to achieve. So when I don't, I get, like, in, like, one of my quizzes, I get a little bit nervous with time, because I keep looking at the time. I'm looking up an answer, or I'm looking through an answer, and then I get the time. And so that excellence begins to be compromised because I keep looking at that time of the corner of my eye. And so it feels like I've just having to overachieve all the time. And so that's been a challenge for me.
So I heard that it's been a challenge for you, and this is taking like an emotional toll on you. And so I'm wondering what happens when you are sitting in front of the computer and you see the timer go off, what happens to you internally?
Well, internally, I get really nervous,
Mhm.
get a little bit stressed. My
Mhm.
mind starts to wander about the time
Mm.
over searching an answer or looking for an answer.
What are some thoughts that pop up in your head while you're looking at the time, realizing that you may not have the answer?
I think it's like I'm about to run out of time. I'm not going to get the answer right, and I'm a failure.
Okay, you gave it so what I'm going down. What would that mean if you didn't get the answer right?
If I don't get the answer right, then I'm gonna not get a perfect grade.
And what would that mean if you didn't get a perfect grade?
That would mean that somebody is better than me.
And what would that mean for you to have
Mm.
somebody better than you?
Well, I feel like I probably didn't work as hard as somebody else, and
And
I
what
could
does
have
that
done
feel like to not work as hard as somebody else?
well. I can do better. I was raised better.
You were raised better. What are you telling yourself about yourself that you were raised better?
I think I'm probably just I feel like maybe a failing, and like maybe failing my expectations from my parents that well, actually it's probably from me that I put on myself.
And what does that feel like to not meet up to your own expectations?
Again, I think it's I just feel like I haven't reached excellence.
And to not reach excellence
Feels like I've again failed. I've not achieved what I want to get to. I'm not, I guess, that perfection.
Mhm. So there is this belief you have that I have to be perfect and I have to achieve or else I will fail. And this feeling of failure causes you some distress. So if we were to take this a little bit further, I know you mentioned disappointment, but what does it truly feel like for you to have failed?
Well, I'm thinking that I just think I think it's just that aspect of worthlessness.
Worthlessness. And as you're talking about this feeling of worthlessness, what are some feelings that are coming up for you?
Frustration
Frustration.
in myself, and or even just I'm overthinking because I want to give the right answer.
Even right now in this moment,
Even right now in this moment.
do you feel it's hard for you to truly be open and honest and allow us to go deeper because we're being recorded?
No, no. Yeah, well, no. I just don't want to cry in front of Jocelyn.
So what I'm wondering, even in this moment, you want to give the right answer for the role play because earlier you said there is this fear of being judged.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's not a good feeling to have,
No.
feel being judged.
Maybe like that even though maybe it's not happening, but just feel like somebody's looking at me. Like when I walk into a room and heads turn, are they talking about me? Are they judging? Are they looking at me? And so maybe that's how that judgment feels.
So If we were doing actual session, what I would do is say this fear of being judged and worthless and not good enough is bringing up some pretty painful feelings and memories for you. So what I would do is I would take you back there in an actual session and say something like, because remember, I'm trying to get to your schema. I'm trying to get to this part of your brain where all these memories and thoughts and feelings came from that are dictating how you're interpreting the information. So I'll just do psychoeducation. So what happens, Oscar, I think, is when you're looking at the timer and you are trying to complete a task, your brain is scanning the environment for threats. And there's part of your brain that's like protecting yourself from feeling like a failure. So anxiety is like, I can't feel like a failure. I can't feel worthless. I can't be judged. And so your body is reacting to that, the anxiety, which is maybe what is causing you distress. What does that feel like to hear that?
Truth. It feels validating and truth that it's not maybe not uncommon.
It's not uncommon.
So it feels good.
Your body is doing what it's designed to do, is to protect you from threats. And I could venture that everybody in this master's class feels the exact same level of anxiety. So you're not alone. They all feel this pressure to get it right.
You see, Jocelyn, stop making fun of me.
So I'm wondering, Oscar, how often do you deflect or use humor to avoid pain?
Oh, yeah. That's another session.
So, okay, let's pause. All right, guys, what did you see me do with Oscar?
Oh my gosh, that was so good. I was actually crying. That
Wait.
was so good.
Did
And
you?
I took notes. I did. I'm a nerd. I tell you, I keep score at baseball games too. No one does that anymore. But
Well, first of all, you're so natural, Dr. Plant. It's like, I don't know. That was just so good to watch. That's better than any role play that's been online in any YouTube channel. And I think too, part of it, and I think sometimes in our role plays, I don't know how everyone else is doing it. I know for us, we just kind of made up case studies, but there is
Yeah.
something about it being real for him.
Sure.
It really makes a difference than a fake work problem. It was like, I think that's what made me emotional. Like I could actually see you talking to his pain. My one question is when you were going to bring it back, because that would be my tendency too, under the pastoral counseling umbrella, would be to like go back like where that started. What is that part of CBT, or are you pulling in something totally different?
Yeah. So I could tell that there was a block that Oscar was letting me go deeper. I felt it. And so that's the resistance. And the resistance tells me this is not safe. It's not a safe environment. So that's kind of why I stopped. And then I kind of got out of it because I could have gone deeper, but I didn't want to. And that's when I focused on the psychoeducation piece. But understanding your schema is a part of CBT because I want to go back to how those things were formed. So if you read Gehart's chapter, what she talks about is it's not the event itself, it's the meaning that people create for the event. So I want to get into what there is this meaning of being judged, scared of being rejected, which honestly, it's a universal fear. Everybody on the planet has the same fear, truly. As I want to say, how was this formed? And then I would go back and try to understand it, because what I want to do is help them to see it makes sense why this is your belief. It makes sense why this is your thoughts. Once clients feel understood and their behaviors make sense to them, then they feel empowered. Okay, now I can change. Now I can start to have a different outlook on life.
Okay, so when he went from fear to failure to unworthiness, is unworthiness the bottom, or would you go underneath that?
To be honest, I don't know what Oscar's bottom is. I kind of stopped
Yeah.
I don't know what his
Would
core.
sense that out. That's part of what person-centered is trying to keep digging under. And then you are letting them decide if they stop once you feel that resistance.
No, I just did I stopped because of the role play,
Okay.
but if it was an actual client and I had the resistance, I would probably do what I did Oscar. I was like, I'm sensing if, because of the role play, but if it was an actual client, I would process the resistance and say, I'm seeing this as hard. Because the truth is, tapping into our unconscious thoughts, guys, is hard. It is like deep in there, it's shoved in there. And sometimes it might take a couple sessions just for us to uncover what's really happening.
So are there things, so is everyone's bottom different? Like, is there like at the bottom, of unworthiness, like you could have abandonment, or you can have like, is there a bottom where you generally, or is everyone's bottom can have a completely different emotion down?
Everybody's different. So let's say you had a parent who you weren't allowed to express your emotions and feelings to. They told you, suck it up, shove it down,
Mhm.
man up, suck it up, buttercup. What meaning do you think somebody would make from that interaction with their parents?
That
About
they
themselves?
were, I mean, it could be that they weren't worth being heard.
Yeah, it could be. It's not the event, it's the meaning that they create. So that person could have, I'm not worth being heard. What's another meaning somebody could create from that same event?
That they're impatient or not willing to do some work with you.
Yeah. That, and what would that tell them about future authority figures?
That they're busy. Don't bother them.
Don't be
Yeah.
bothered.
So everybody's interpretation of an event is different and unique to them. And so that's why you just want to uncover to get to their core belief. What do they think, the meaning they created from the event? And typically how you get to like the core is you start to see a lot of emotions
Okay.
to that. And it usually is the core belief is something that they tell themselves about themselves. So I am worthless. I am hopeless. I am unlovable. I am not good enough. I should have known better. I can't keep people safe. It's my fault the abuse happened, that type of stuff.
So if you stayed person-centered that whole time, you would just keep digging around that emotion.
Person-centered, I would do is create more awareness, and it wouldn't be as direct and ask thoughts. I would be more of what are you feeling right now? And person-centered, I would be more a lot of validation, a lot of attuning. Yeah, that's really hard. What's that like to share that with me right now? That. But CBT still uses that in the beginning to create safety. But CBT, person-centered is more about the here and the now and raising awareness. CBT, the validation and empathy, it's used as a tool to get the client to change their behavior by identifying their thoughts and feelings.
How did that feel, Oscar? How was that?
Well, I mean, honestly, it was great. I mean, I'm sure we could have had a real session. But it was challenging to find the appropriate words because of because of the subject we were talking about, because of that perfectionism. And then again, you want to think of the right word because of perfectionism. So now, Dr. Plant, you summarized some, towards the end. Is that something that we do in CBT?
What did I summarize? Can you remind me?
Yeah, you went back and you basically went back and said, what I think is happening is, and then you started educating. You said the brain scans for threats, everybody's body feels certain, you threw in, I'm seeing that you use humor to avoid pain. So is
So
that,
that was it. There are basic foundational clinical skills such as open-ended questions, reframing, summarizing, that is going to be within every single session. It doesn't matter the theory that you choose. That's why we start off with person-centered, and I'm not sure if you can tell from the reading, but in the very beginning of the textbook, we talked about like 80% of successful therapy has to do with the therapeutic relationship.
Mhm.
And how that's developed is by me showing the client, I get it and I understand. And that's done by summarizing open-ended questions, validating a tuning, and that should be in every single session, regardless of the theoretical approach that I use. So that summarizing is just me showing Oscar, okay, I'm tracking with you. I get it. I'm understanding.
But so my question is all in the framework. And where you started and how you started. So I felt like this is just my observation. When you started off person-centered pretty quickly. He kind of brought us in quick. And then you immediately went to what I felt like, because I'm thinking through that framework, that basic framework, I felt like you went to sensation right away. You bypassed, he gave you behavior, you went straight to sensation. We didn't do any imagery. And then what you did, which was interesting, is you did the drill down. You drilled down. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? And I wrote, and my note was, I call it the step ladder versus basic idea assessment versus the schema list.
Oh, okay. So
How does that all kind of flow? You know what I mean? Like, why were
sure.
you I felt like you picked a couple because you're good at it. So you went boom, 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 and then went bam. I would have gone down the checklist like a neurotic mess. You know what I mean?
What, okay, so with, in this chapter, it does lay out assessments and how to kind of conceptualize clients. And each theory has a way that they assess a client, understand pathology. For the role plays, I just want you to practice using a therapy skill that's attached to the theory. So for the role plays, you're not going to necessarily do an assessment. I just want you to practice, pick a skill and practice a skill.
That answers everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, what's your imagery, dude? Like, what drugs you on? Like, I would have done that.
So, okay, so here's the thing, is you are going to have a whole box of tools, clinical tools for you to use for your clients. And you could pick one, you could pick one, you could pick one. And really it's kind of like fishing where you like, okay, I'm gonna try this bait and see if it helps. Or no, okay, I'm gonna try this bait. But at the end of the day, you're meeting the client where they're at. And it's building the relationship, and then you can try an intervention and then try an intervention. So you'll see a whole toolbox to use, and there's no like this first, this, unless you're doing like narrative. Narrative is very like step 1, step 2, step 2, but you'll study that later, not in this class.
Right. And as you went, I felt like you came into what's failure feel like. He's talked about he's frustrated with the overthinking, and then you checked in at that point and asked permission to go deeper, which was interesting. But you see how whereas as I'm learning, the person-centered is very kind of flow and kind of riding the whatever wave they're on, and reflecting that back. I guess my hang up here is this has more structure, and I was just wondering when you made those turns, kind of why? Well, not why.
Sure.
You're
So
used to it.
sure.
It's
Sure. So I
nature to you. That's
sure.
why.
So I was just trying to role model a clinical skill from CBT. I didn't really have like a goal in mind. I was just trying to show you how to do certain things like identifying thoughts, downward arrow, along with some person-centered interventions. So that's maybe why it's confusing, because I was just trying to pull interventions just to show you how to administer the interventions.
And then my last one on that was, I felt like, in session, you said if we were in session, you know, we would talk about your fear of being judged, the worthlessness and not good enough, and kind of go back to the beginning. And for me, that would have meant, and correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't that kind of get into more psychodynamic, or is that also part of CBT, where you go back to the origins?
So I'm not necessarily going back to the origins, as I want to see how these automatic thought came to be. I'm trying to understand his schema. So if you look at the schema actually, let me, I don't think I have a whiteboard. I'm going to draw something for you guys. Maybe let's try this whiteboard. My whiteboard, new, collaborating. Let me see, guys, if this helps. Do you see my whiteboard?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Let me show you kind of what I was doing. You draw. Where is drawing here? Okay, here it goes. Here's Oscar's brain. Oh, where'd it go? There's Oscar, there's his mustache, there's his hair.
Make it long, make it long.
Okay. What I am, because I'm used to using Google Meets, and so I'm not sure why my drawings have disappeared. Does anybody know how to do, let's try pen. Okay. Let's hopefully this sticks. All right. Here is his schema. This is your client's schema. And in this schema is made up of memories, situation, events in your life that has caused some type of emotion. It could be positive, it could be negative, but it's a like core memory of yours. And these meanings, these situations tend to form the way that we interpret and analyze information. So if you had a childhood where you were constantly put down and made to believe you're dumb, that is going to be a core belief. I am dumb. If you have a situation where you had a lot of trauma, you have a core belief that I am not safe, the world isn't safe, and I must control my environment at all times. That's more of an automatic thought. And so what happens is you are constantly scanning the environment. How do I change the color? Scanning the environment. Oh, here it is. To interpret information. Okay, so here's guys. This is your filter. This is like the lens that you're seeing the world through, right? So let's say you're trying to interpret information over here, like taking a test and seeing the clock run down. Like your partner doesn't text you back or doesn't pick up the dishes after you clean the house, whatever the event is. You are interpreting it through your lens, and your lens is made up of all of this information and memories that have been created in your life. So my goal as a CBT therapist is to try to understand the thoughts, what messages they're telling themselves, the meaning that they've created to help them understand how they're interpreting the event. Because the truth is, it's not about the test and the timer. It's about this core belief that's coming out that's impacting them. So if we go to the CBT thought record, you have your thoughts, you have your behavior, feelings, and you have the actions. The actions for Oscar was distress, taking a test that was causing him distress and impacting his test taking. The feelings were anxiety and overwhelm. The thoughts were, I'm going to be judged, I'm a failure. So what I want to do is to go back to understand where this came from, because I want to challenge it. And how I challenge is by doing a CBT thought record is I go back and I say, okay, let's prove this to be true. Let's walk through the situations and really try to analyze them to see if it's a feeling or if it's a fact. Is it really that you're worthless, or your parents were unable to provide you what they needed at the time? Is it that your voice doesn't matter, or you just had experienced a lot of trauma? Do you get what I'm saying? So I'm unpacking this to help them to restructure their brain to provide a different core belief, a different schema, so that way they interpret situations through a new lens versus their old lens. Does that help answer questions about CBT?
Yeah, I wish you would teach like this. This is so good, like that we could have these type of interactions, because this is way better than the reading helps and all of that. And Gayheart, her voice is a little snoozy, but like this, you role played it, and now you're like drawing it. This is so good.
Yeah.
Like I feel like this is what's been kind of missing.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree, guys, 100%. So this is how I lecture in person. And I knew with us not having live classes, this was going to be missed. And so I appreciate your feedback. And so honestly, I wouldn't, because the way this course, the program was set up was not live classes. And so I think we need to have live classes, because you're right. I agree. Yeah. So
this is like, I mean, because it's not just that you're a professor, like you're teaching us how you counsel, even personal, like that is so invaluable.
Yeah.
Like, this is the best. This is so fun.
Yeah, I agree.
It's all making sense. And I feel like, yeah, I would love, I don't know how to incorporate that moving forward, but we need some live class interaction, I feel like.
So say that. So say and be brutally honest, because I think all of us want you to succeed. We truly want a good program. And so be brutally honest that we need live classes. And I know for my next theories class that I'm teaching, this same class for the next cohort, I asked if I could do live classes, because I agree. I think
so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I may as well never hire me if I'm not good. So you have to make me good.
We won't. We're at very high standards. If you're not good, you won't get a traineeship.
I know. That's why I'm.
Is it just insurance? How come I can't go not being in California?
Oh, okay. So there is a lot. Should I stop recording? Do we have any more questions about CBT?
Just really quick. We have 20 minutes to do this, right?
Yes.
So we need to be pretty don't get to the assessment pretty quickly. Don't get hung up on all the different steps. Just kind of
ask their thoughts. All I want you to do is just say, what are you thinking? Tell me your thoughts. And then downward arrow, you could do what meaning did you create from that event? You can say, what are you telling yourself about yourself? How did that event shape the way that you think about your spouse? How did that event shape the way that you think about your children? I just want you guys to practice getting their thoughts out and assessing for their thoughts.
Okay. Yeah, that was my only thing. I didn't want to, I didn't know if you were going to grade us on if we were following the models and stuff. And I got to get my brain out of the models for right
And
now.
to be honest, I have everybody got 100% on the role plays, because you are trying. You're not going to get an F on the role play, and I'll give you feedback where needed, but you're not going to get an F or bad grade for the role plays.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost not even, I mean, I'm at the age where a grade doesn't matter. I just want to get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I just want to get it. Once I get the foundations, I know this is crucial for, I mean, I'm not speaking for everyone, but I think for a lot of us, especially older guys, we want to get the framework down. We want to get those foundations down. We want to get the habits down, because it's all about the habits, because later on, you know what I mean? It's like, and so
Okay.
that's why I'm just to get down.
I will show you right now exactly what you need to do. If you really want the practice of the habits, let me show you exactly. I'm gonna show a quick video, hope it works. Practice this. Okay, I really hope this works. It's just, okay, let me go back to Zoom. And then I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. Just do this every day.
There's all this pressure.
Can you guys hear?
Yes.
Okay.
And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me. And I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head. And it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there.
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing.
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
You're
out.
not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just, sometimes it's like, there's this achy, I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
That sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Oh, come on. If you would just
Don't.
Try to see things my way. Well, I keep on until I can go on.
Rick, that was perfect. That was for you, Rick. That was so perfect.
Whatever. Okay, okay.
Where did it go? My YouTube video. Anyways, practice that. Just validating, seeing it from their lens. Hold on, guys. I have no idea what you do. Okay.
So you don't want us to pull out their nail.
What did you guys hear?
Just listen and don't solve the problem.
Yes, that's all I want you to focus on. It's like, Rick, what's the sorry, my daughter is like locked out of my house and she's like, Mom, I can't get it in, we have a new house. We just moved and there's a code. She doesn't know the code. I don't know the code either. I think it's 1827. Why do I want you to focus? So Rick, what's a very foundational baseball skill that you have to master before you go on to the next skill?
I mean, just catching it.
Catching it. That's all I want you to do is practice the foundational skill of catching it. And why do you need that foundational skill? What's a advanced skill, baseball skill?
Hitting a 90-mile-an-hour ball.
Okay. Why do you need to practice catching it before you hit a 90-hour ball?
Because you gotta know the foundations. I mean, you have to be able to run, throw, and hit, or you don't play.
All I want you to do is just practice foundational skills of just validating and attuning. And then, yes, we're learning advanced skills and that's there. But if you want to be good, practice what you saw in that video, just validating and attuning and listening from their perspective. That's it.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Easy.
Practice it with your family.
I'm
Yeah.
going to right now if they don't knock it off.
You practice that with your family. Yeah.
So instead of giving your daughter the code, you should ask her how it feels to be locked out.
Yes.
Okay.
do you-
Validate that that's hard to not have the code. I'm gonna do it with my kids.
What images are coming into your mind right now?
One,
Thank you so much. This is so helpful.